All right, so thinking about going for that cabin crew job. Hope you're ready for some pretty intense interview questions.
Oh, yeah.
We're diving deep today into 40 of them, straight from an Indeed.com article. And let me tell you, some of these are real head-scratchers.
It's amazing, isn't it, how these questions are designed to go beyond just, surface level.
Yeah,
Airlines really want to peek into your personality, see your passion, and how you'd handle, those unexpected moments that pop up when you're 30,000 feet in the air.
right. Like one of the first ones that caught my eye was, what types of articles interest you? Seems so unrelated to flying, right? What's the point of asking that?
Well, it's all about uncovering those hidden connections. Think about it.
Okay.
Let's say the airline you're interviewing with, they're big on sustainability.
Right.
If you mention you like reading about eco-travel or sustainable tourism, bam, you're already aligned with their values.
That's true. It's like you're subtly saying, hey, I'm already vibing with your company culture.
Exactly. It shows a genuine interest that goes beyond just wanting a job.
Okay, so even the random sounding questions can reveal a lot about you. Another one that I was kind of like, was, what do you dislike the most about your current job?
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, how do you answer that honestly without, sounding negative or like you're complaining?
Well, that's where you turn a potential negative into a story of growth.
Oh, okay.
Imagine saying something like, in my last role, I really wasn't a fan of the lack of teamwork.
Right.
So I took the initiative and started some team building activities.
Oh, smart.
See, you're highlighting a weakness of the previous job, but also showing off your initiative and leadership.
Okay, so it's all about framing it in a positive light,
Yeah,
showing how you learn and overcome challenges.
exactly.
But let's get into some of those technical questions.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch in this article on safety regulations, like restricted items on board, limitations on medical aid, and why you can't open the door mid-flight.
Of course, those are crucial. Airlines need to be absolutely sure you understand the why behind the rules.
Yeah.
Not just that they exist, but why they're there.
Yeah.
For instance, when they ask about the duration of oxygen during emergencies, you could mention that those masks, they usually last about 15 minutes.
Right.
Which gives the pilots enough time to, get down to a breathable altitude.
Makes sense. So it's not just spitting out facts. It's about connecting them to real-world scenarios.
Precisely. Imagine you have to explain that calmly to passengers during an actual emergency.
Oh, yeah.
Emphasizing that those 15 minutes are more than enough for a safe descent. It shows you understand procedures, and even better, you can reassure people when things are stressful.
That's important. You're not just following rules. You're someone who can use that knowledge,
Right.
apply it to the situation. There's also a question about seating passengers near the emergency exits.
Oh, right.
What are they looking for in that answer, do you think?
They want to see that you get the responsibility involved. You're not just looking for someone with muscles.
Right.
It's about, can they follow instructions when things get crazy? Can they help others?
Yeah.
You're making judgments based on safety protocols, not just randomly picking someone.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like you're a first responder up in the air, constantly watching and making decisions that could impact everyone on board. Speaking of tough calls, let's talk about those challenging passenger scenarios. This Indeed.com article lists a whole bunch. Rude passengers, disagreements, people refusing to follow rules, even handling potential disturbances. Where do we even begin with all that?
Those are tough. They can feel overwhelming for sure, but they're really meant to see how you stay calm,
Right.
And professional under pressure. Think of it like testing your conflict resolution skills at 30,000 feet.
So it's not about having the perfect answer. It's about showing them you can handle the unexpected.
Exactly. Let's say you've got a passenger and they're being downright rude. It's tempting to, snap back, but airlines want to see you can de-escalate.
Yeah.
You acknowledge their frustration, of course, but firmly remind them that certain behaviors are unacceptable.
It's finding that balance right between empathy and being assertive.
Right. You get their frustration, but the rules are the rules.
Yeah.
Now imagine this. Two passengers get into a heated argument. Oh, boy.
Oh, no.
Now your priority is everyone's safety.
Yeah.
Can you calmly separate them? Can you delegate tasks to other crew?
Right.
These questions reveal your ability to think on your feet and take charge, even when it's chaotic.
Okay, so it's about showing them you can handle the pressure and make those smart decisions when things get tough. Speaking of tough decisions, let's go back to that what-if question from the Indeed.com article. What do you do if your cabin manager gives you an order that goes against airline protocols?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a tricky one.
That feels like a minefield.
It is. That question, it's not about just blindly following orders. It's showing them your dedication to safety, but you also respect the chain of command.
Right.
Imagine this. You're mid-flight, and your manager tells you to do something that just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a small thing, or maybe it's something that's a big safety concern.
It's like that moment, where you have to choose. Do I speak up and maybe cause a problem? Or do I stay quiet and risk everyone's safety?
And that's the test, right? The interviewer is watching your judgment, your ethics, how you handle a really sensitive situation. There's no single right answer, but there are ways to answer that show off your best side.
So how do you suggest tackling this kind of scenario? What are the steps?
Okay, first, always clarify the order. Make sure you really understand what they're asking and why. It gives you a moment to think and shows you're not just jumping to conclusions.
Okay, so start with clarifying questions. What then?
Well, if you're still worried it goes against safety protocols, politely voice those concerns. You could say something like, I understand the order, but I'm concerned this might conflict with safety regulations, the ones meant to keep everyone safe.
Right. That's a good way to put it. You're not being disrespectful to their authority, but you are pointing out the risks.
Exactly. Now, this next part is where it gets really tricky.
Yeah.
You could suggest a different way to do things that follows the protocols. Or, if the situation allows, you might ask for documentation just for liability.
Oh, interesting.
It subtly emphasizes those potential consequences without being confrontational.
So it's all about finding that balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Standing your ground on safety, but still respecting your manager's position.
Exactly. You want to prove to them that you're not just blindly following rules, you're thinking critically, and you can handle tough situations professionally and with integrity.
This whole question really makes me think about how much responsibility cabin crew members have. It's not all about the travel perks, is it?
Not at all.
It's about making tough calls that could affect, hundreds of lives.
You're absolutely right. These interview questions, as hard as they can be, they give you a peek into the real complexity of the job.
Before we jump into those standout answers from the article, I'm curious about one more thing.
Okay.
What if a colleague just doesn't show up for work? What do you do then?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Another curveball, right?
Yeah, your colleague's a no-show, and now you're short-staffed. What's the plan?
This question is all about, can you adapt? Can you work as a team? And most importantly, can you handle these surprises without letting it affect, the passenger safety or service?
So no panicking. It's about being proactive, thinking on your feet.
Exactly. You could start by saying, hey, I hope my colleague's okay, but we need to figure this out.
Right.
Then it's all about action.
Yeah.
How would you talk to the rest of the crew? Would you volunteer to take on extra duties? It shows you're a team player willing to step up.
Like they say, the show must go on, but in this case, it's the flight must go on.
Exactly. And don't forget to mention that you'd, of course, talk to the cabin manager, get their guidance.
Right. Shows you understand the chain of command. You're looking for the best solution for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've tackled those tricky what-if questions.
We have.
But let's look at some of the standout answers from this Indeed.com article.
Okay.
There's one for, what do you think is good customer service? That I really liked.
Yeah.
It talks about, going above and beyond just the basics. It's about making the flight memorable for the passengers.
That's spot on. It shows you get that your role is so much more than just, serving drinks.
Yeah.
You're creating a positive experience. You're an ambassador for the airline.
And it subtly hints at, the importance of getting people to fly with them again.
Exactly. Happy passengers are more likely to come back. It shows you're thinking big picture, connecting your performance to the airline's success.
There's another great one for, what are some challenges facing this airline right now?
Ooh, yeah, I remember that one.
The sample answer talks about things like, higher customer expectations, more competition. But then it goes further and suggests solutions, which I thought was really smart.
That's brilliant. It shows you're not just aware of the problems, but you're thinking ahead, You're a problem solver.
And it shows you've done your homework on the airline. You're not just applying for any cabin crew job. You're interested in this specific one.
Preparation is key, right? It shows genuine interest and a willingness to contribute.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Technical stuff, tricky scenarios, great answers. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I have one last thought for you. Imagine you're on a flight and you see a fellow crew member doing something that just doesn't seem right.
Oh.
Maybe something unsafe or unprofessional. What do you do?
Wow, that's a tough one. It goes beyond the rules, doesn't it? It's about your ethics, your judgment.
It's like that see something, say something idea, but the stakes are so much higher.
Right. This is your colleague, and you're all up in the air together.
Exactly. It's a tricky situation.
Yeah. It is. It needs careful thought. First, you assess, right, is it just a small slip up, or is it a real safety risk? If it's the latter, you need to act fast.
Right.
Maybe talk to your colleague privately, or if you have to, tell the cabin manager.
What if it's not a clear-cut safety thing,
Yeah.
but it just feels wrong? Maybe a colleague seems, I don't know, impaired or acting strangely.
In those cases, maybe gather some more information first, see how they're acting, discreetly ask other crew if they've noticed anything.
Mhm.
Write down your observations, be specific. If you're still worried, report it to the right people within the airline.
It's a tough decision, but in the end, the passenger safety comes first.
Always.
This deep dive has been so eye-opening. We've learned so much about what airlines are really looking for in their cabin crew.
It's so much more than just being friendly.
Exactly. It's about being a safety pro, a problem solver, a team player, and having strong ethics.
It's a challenging job, but it's rewarding, too. And these interview questions, as tough as they are, they're meant to help airlines find the best people.
So to everyone out there prepping for those cabin crew interviews, remember, be prepared, be confident, and let your passion shine through. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.